being here with us. And as Nir said, I will repeat him. Thank you all for joining us here. So let's kick off our conversation about, as it's called, reinventing the new normal, about how the pandemic has changed the way that we work together, the way that we work independently, the way that we operate within our careers. Ilana, I'll direct my question to you first. HBO has long been a pioneer in digital ways of work and creative internal structures, and you have long been a bastion of networking in your locale and in your industry. So I think the simplest question is, how have you been doing things differently in this new period, and maybe plan to do things differently as well in this new normal?
Sure. So I think I have to mention that. So now my company, which I've been working for 10 years, it was HBO, but it's changed to Warner Media about sort of a year ago. And we launched HBO Max in the US during the pandemic. So I was not part of that launch because I've already been out here in Spain, but as part of the larger company and the announcement that they recently made about releasing theatrical movies from the Warner Brothers studio, streaming at the same time on HBO Max, during that theatrical window, which used to be super precious and not something that was ever touched. We sort of disrupted that model. Kind of the pandemic, I think, accelerated, but so I think that the pandemic has given us an opportunity to take a new look through fresh eyes and make bold moves that we maybe hadn't made before. So even though that's not the case in Europe, and so I can't say right now we're gonna have the same sort of opportunity to launch day and date movies with the theatrical release here in Europe at this time. I think that type of thinking has really been something inspiring for all of us across the organization. So at my day-to-day level right now, I think in the terms of the way that we're working, and I think many people can relate to this, everything's gone digital and everything is Zoom, and we're using many different, digital platforms to communicate. So I'm having meetings sort of over WhatsApp and over Skype and over Teams. And I think one challenge is that I wish that my company would address is like, maybe we could commit to one platform, because people are speaking and communicating on different platforms, and that makes it challenging. But I think we're all just kind of, doing what we can to surmount the challenges of not being in the same physical space. And one tool, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to mention one tool that I've discovered that I don't know if anybody else has tried yet is called Mural. And it's essentially like a virtual war room. And so I found that, in between meetings, it's a really good collaboration tool where you can sort of virtually be in the same room. And there's like spaces to put Post-it notes, there's spaces to have timelines. So it's a great way to collaborate on projects. And so we're constantly, looking at new series launches, like local productions here in Spain that are just in the production phase. And we, have to take those from production to bringing them to go to market, when they premiere many months down the line. So I found that being a good way to sort of, instead of being in the same space and collaborating physically, using a tool like Mural has helped us a lot.
They've been really essential in my work and in education. Digital collaboration tools have really come a long way. Mural, we used to be real-time board. How have you seen this impact networking? Because a large part of your time and energy, I know, is also spent in developing a networking organization. So how have you seen the same sort of challenges play out?
Yeah, I mean, I think, working with the creative community here in Spain and with producers and directors and actors, it's been interesting to sort of see them have to come online and embrace these technologies. And there's been a lot of funny anecdotes, but, that has been a change in the way we're working and sort of networking across the industry. And I think now everybody's just really embraced this digital way of working. But one thing for me personally, kind of outside my day-to-day work, is that I discovered an organization called Chief, and it's actually an organization for women leaders. It's based in the US. I was able to join because of my history working in the US, but I think they have ambitions to become more of a global organization. And I had an opportunity to join because of the pandemic and everything going virtual normally, that, they have a clubhouse and most of the meetings were happening there, but they've brought everything online. And so that's kind of increased my network by like 5,000 women, all super inspirational, across all walks of life. And so that has been really interesting. And they have everything from coaching sessions where you get a core group and you work with a coach together as a group, and spend a lot of time really focusing on developing, leadership skills. And then there's also lots of networking opportunities to hear speakers, but also just kind of be introduced to members across that organization. So that's been something that I'm really thankful for.
That's a huge amplification of your reach, right? I mean, so the fact that they've embraced it and opened up in that way, that makes an enormous difference. I mean, it really recontextualizes what we mean when we talk about networking. Georgia, if I may, I'd like to come to you. I think that MasterCard has been redefining the concepts of employee-centric community and internal networking and autonomy and things like that during this period and before. So kind of jumping off of that last point, what are the lessons that have been learned for you and at MasterCard about the way that responding to challenges can also provide opportunities and amplification, right? Caring for the human in this digital context.
Yeah, so for sure, COVID was an unprecedented global event, but we know how difficult this time is for everyone as community, as people with family. And so our greatest focus through this crisis at the beginning for sure was about people. So during this such time, taking care about people is more important than ever, because if you take care of them, they will be able also to take care about the company. And as organization, your people are your engine. So their diversity, their ideas, their decency is your fuel, and you need to continue to empower them. You need to be at the end of their back. You need to create an environment based on mutual trust, where employees, partners, customers feel comfortable, and where they can work with you in a trusted way. So I think that for sure this became more important than ever. And trust is everything at the end. And in order to gain trust, you need to work on the communication. So you need to have transparency, and you need to have also a strong brand, where you put the brand to work for not only for people, but also for customers, for partners, but also for a wider society. So in terms of lesson, what I learned personally, it's probably that we need to continue to put our people first, because any organization that thinks about its people first, it's going to be successful. And the way to build this success, I suppose I think, and I saw for what that has been our experience in MasterCard, that goes through trust. And in order to create trust in the middle of a pandemic, you need to send clear communication to people. You must be clear with the message that you share with them. They need to feel comfortable. They should be able to trust their organization during this period, because if you establish such, let's say, clear guidelines, it generates an enormous trust and loyalty in the employee base, but it creates also a virtuous cycle based on mutual trust. So what we do, also according to what you asked to me, in terms of, let's say, how MasterCard was managing the crisis in terms of taking care of the human beyond probably the normal and traditional human resource approach, is to take care of our employee, because our employees makes MasterCard what is today. So we have initiated several temporary policy, including work from home, split working schedule. We try to organize meeting, events, activities. We created networking opportunity, and we will provide, for example, also 10 business days paid leave to all regular employees impacted by COVID that can be used intermittently. So, for example, if you need to take care to your kids or to your parents, because in any way they are affected by COVID, you can use this for sure these days. We also try to create some special project that we call, for example, Project Possible, that there is an internal volunteer corps just to motivate people and to keep them involved in different activities that are not only, business centered. Most of our employees, as I said, are working remotely, and we will continue to support this option for the foreseeable future until they will feel comfortable to come back to work. And on the other side, for sure, we are working in created, let's say, a work and office space safer, where they can keep safe and where they can keep comfortable to come. We are also thinking about, let's say, different, topic like, for example, mind. So we are thinking about mental and physical well-being for our people, and we are putting in place some new program. We are helping people to manage their stress and to build their resilience. We are taking care of their body, so we are trying to help themselves in a physical way with some exercise and let's say physical activities, including resource for sleeping well, taking time off, or unplugging. And also social, because we are introducing tools to connect with colleagues all around the world and participate also in some, let's say, different and special habit challenges. So we have a LiveWell program. And also we have two specific resources like Virgin Pulse, a program that covers all aspects of well-being, such as getting active, eating healthy, sleeping well, reducing stress, and Thrive Global, that is a mental resilience and well-being app that can help you to move from awareness to action. So yes, I mean, we are centering all our effort in make our people comfortable, safe, and to create a trust environment as much as possible.
Yeah. That's really compelling. Now, that, of course, is happening in the context of MasterCard, an enormous multinational. Mar, how are you dealing with, or how have you been dealing with the kinds of stresses and the way that they can potentially be, helped or addressed by a company? You've moved to a much more remote area, although, as you say, there are some 200 souls where you live, and you embarked on a job search in the middle of the pandemic. Those are two incredibly adventurous moves at any time in a life, and you did them during the most remarkable period of our recent history. So how have you been trying to address those same issues as someone who's been going through such changes?
Yes, well, what I was, the word that came to my mind while I was listening to Georgia and Elena was mainly how relationship has been impacted by COVID and pandemic in the past 12 months. So I moved from a corporate environment. I was working in KPMG, which is completely and totally different from the environment I'm now, and in a startup and completely remote organization. So in both contexts, what has changed amazingly is the quality of relationship and how I approach relationship from leadership perspective and also from client management perspective. And it's very curious because for me, the quality of this relationship has been increased, is higher quality, because I see the person through the screen and I am more focused in taking care of this relationship more and more, because we are far apart and there is a wall between us, which is the digital screen, the whatever app that I'm using, I am not next to you. So this has had an amazing impact, and the quality of the relationship, as I mentioned, has changed and increased incredibly. And this has been the window that has opened for me, and that has brought these two major changes in my life, which is knowing the person, the founder, and the person who is leading this project, and through different conversation, fall in love with the project, fall in love with the team, and decide to make the change and come to an amazing different environment for me, because I'm mainly a city, urban, fall in love with Madrid, and now I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I look to the window. If you see myself, just it's because I'm looking to the window and I have the mountain in front of me, and I'm still ask to myself how this happened, because if you ask me, I cannot answer already. I'm just processing the experience, but it's mainly because I am more worried now than ever in the quality of the relationship that I have. And this is the answer of all the questions that maybe you are going to ask me, how things happen, is because I am more connected than ever with family, friends, and of course with teams. In the middle of March last year, we hired a new person in our team, and I never have an onboarding as intense and with so much care that I did in this period. And I never had a team more involved and close that I had through this period that we were apart. So of course that strategies and tools from HR and from corporate perspective is important, but I think we have the key in our hands. If we are leader, of course, but if we are part of team, if we are recently joiner in any team, in our hands is the possibility to make change, and reinvent ourselves is something that resonates a lot, because even if we are in the same organization, we are in a completely different scenario. So we are the key to make it happen and to make it work in the best way for us and for our team. And this is probably the main technology that I've used in these months, and what have brought a lot of sense and purpose in what I've doing in the past year. Probably the human side of this crazy context that we are living in.
That's pretty marvelous. I mean, I'm revealing my biases here, but I find it really exciting that you would say that the most important technology that you've encountered in this period has been the social technology, the human technology, if you will, yes, of empathy and engagement. No, yes. I mean, yeah.
Yes, and that's even really now, yes, and now that, and then the main challenge for me, and this is one of the reasons that I was invited in the project, is that I am a deep skeptical of technology as the main answer to anything that we are doing, and I am in a technology business. So the challenge is how we make sense of the technology in the service of giving sense to us, to human beings. And we were working last week or 2 weeks ago in the purpose, or in the reviewing the mission of Sapiens, of the company, and we said how technology can make us best human beings. And this is exactly what we are facing as a challenge. Our main goal is working with the learning and the knowledge within the companies, but technology always is the tool to make us learn best, connecting best, identifying if it's knowledge, if it is expert, how to use all the technology available, which is great, how many options and opportunity we have, but never forget that this is in the service of being the best version of ourselves. And this is what we do in Sapiens.
I think that's your cue, Nir. If I've ever heard it, speaking of immediate and mediated ways to understand each other and ourselves, inevitably brings us to the topic of art. And speaking of technology that allows us to be better humans, I think, again, is probably not actually a bad description of what art has been throughout history. So Nir, what are you working with companies around these topics? Or yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. That's your question.
First of all, for the one that came late, I want to apologize that I don't have the virtual background. I swear to God, I tried.
You did. We promise.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think kind of Mar set the stage for me. I think now after 2020, I'm much more convinced that art is much more relevant in business. And just to kind of say how I perceive art is that art for me, it's not an object. It's not a painting, and it's not a book, and it's not a song. You can buy a better version of the Mona Lisa today, but you won't do it. Because art is a mentality, and it's a way of thinking and operating in the world. And what the coronavirus or the pandemic showed me is that if before the corona, every company was raving about how great is the technology they have, how superior is the solution, how they dominating the market. It was human in the service of technology. But then came the corona and basically take all the contingency plans, threw it out of the window and say, okay, let's go back to human. And I think that what artists doing is always, it's about human. That's why I kind of find it interesting that we have today human-centric design. But one of the projects that I found interesting took place in '69 when a group of artists and engineers from Bell Labs went to rural India to understand how they can teach them to grow their take care of the buffalo they were raising over there better. In '69, you had artists actually capturing what we call visual notes of those people and creating solutions. So for me, to see how artists respond to that, it's something very interesting because art is experience-based. The moment you cannot, in a way, meet physically, you took everything from the art. So I was very much interested to see how artists respond to that, because I think the business world can learn a lot. While all the business world ran immediately to Zoom, you saw a lot of artists getting away from Zoom and looking for other alternatives to create experiences. And it's funny that now we see the Clubhouse raising like a crazy platform. And some of the experiments I saw artists are already doing that at the beginning of last year, kind of creating a ongoing sort of WhatsApp message platforms, creating their own virtual platforms for people to meet. There is one theater that actually installed iPads on all the chairs, and everyone actually sat on a physical space from over a virtual screen. So if I kind of summarize it to your question, I think what art shows us is that it's technology at the service of human, not the other way around. And I think that we have a lot what to learn when it comes to experience, how artists transmit experience over the digital. And the last thing is maybe the skills. I mean, artists are so trained in dealing with ambiguity and uncertainty. They are so trained in being resilient, because art requires resiliency if you want to play it in the long game. So this is some of my.
It also is. It also, in general, the efficient is not always very useful in art, right? I mean, if the most efficient process is going to potentially cut off a lot of exciting, unforeseen, and unexpected avenues, right?
I mean, art is all about exploration. It's not about execution. Right. I mean, it doesn't mean that artist doesn't execute, by the way. The moment you want to set an artist on the road, just tell them it's impossible. There is no such thing in the world of art. But art is much more inclined to explore, while the business world more inclined to improve or become more efficient or more productive.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely did see a tech boost, however, during the pandemic, right? Certainly by the general population, and definitely, according to the market. So this I'd like to offer to everyone. How do each of you see the prospects for that boost? Is it a bubble? Is it a rise that we'll see continue? Obviously, things are going to fall to the side. You know, perhaps from your own perspective, or the sector or industry that you're working in. How do you foresee that? I'm thinking of all of you actually, but I'm you know, I'm thinking, well, Elena, how do you see that affecting media distribution? Georgia, how do you see that affecting the kind of products that MasterCard will bring out? Mar, you know, so yeah, what do you all think?
I can go first, Steve, but I will let you guys
Sure.
decide. Ilana, you want?
No, you can go, then I'll go.
I'll tell you, I mean, for me, the the pandemic, it's not a kind of, for me, the pandemic, it's a leadership lesson. I mean, it's kind of required leadership in business, political, every aspect. And I can only hope that the situation won't go back, because as humans, we have this tendency to forget more than we remember. And on a personal level, I think that there is a lot what to learn when it comes to leadership, because I think the best example is, again, from my world, how artists influence business and the society. It took place in January 20, when you had a 22 years old poet going on stage in the inauguration of Biden and captured the heart of millions. A 22 years old poet managed to do what political leaders can and business leaders can. She set a vision. She gave voices to hopes. She managed to speak to emotion. She spoke to the heart, not to the mind. Not, I will pay you another 5% in your salary, just stay with me. She gave something very, very different. And I think we need to realize that leadership and management is not the same. Management is about executing the existing tasks that we had. Leadership is about going to the future. And when you go to the future, you need the different skills than just, let's use 2x2 matrix to see who is a better employees. When you go to the future, you need to speak to the hearts, not to the minds. So yeah, I hope
my daughters.
Yeah,
my daughters are memorizing Amanda Gorman's poem. From my 10 and 8-year-old daughters are in the process of trying to memorize it. I think
great role model. She found herself a great role model.
Well, they had memorized Hamilton, so they needed new material. But so, Elena, how do you see that working for really a media distribution company ultimately? What's your take on that?
I think that like we're just being innovative, and we're finding new forms of entertainment. So during the pandemic, we created a series called En Casa. And we worked with 5 pretty well-known directors in Spain, and they each created their own episode. And it was kind of a shorter, it was like up to 30 minutes. And we put this out during the pandemic. And, you know, we've been seeing a lot of that, you know, coming out in the US and all over the world. And I think, you know, I think there's just more creativity now. So even when hopefully things go back to normal sooner rather than later, I think we'll still see like more experimentation and more new forms of entertainment.
I mean, we had the Goyas here in Spain recently, which well, we don't have to get into, but I would argue were the most interesting Goyas that I've certainly ever seen. It was made for a decade by Antonio Banderas, bringing in a lot of people from around the world and things like that. Mar, you do work for a technology company, and as you said, it's only in the service of humanity. So how do you see the people who use your tools being brought into an understanding of the way that you would like your technology to allow them to be more human?
I would say that, and I agree with Nir, that there are 2 levels of answering this question, and would be technology is here to stay and more around us, and we already know that. Nobody can deny that. technology is in our life day to day in different levels of our life. I would say that is essential in the how, and there are some words that we are clear also that are here to stay, because in the past 12 months we have learned that we can have access to almost anything from our mobile phone. So accessibility is even easier with technology. There is another word which is speed. Speed is possible because of technology. Speed of accessing answer, knowledge, expert references. So speed is another word that goes with technology. Autonomy, one of the things that we have learned is that we can do things by ourselves. And this is my experience. I can do things now that I didn't know that I could do with technology by myself. I'm more self-reliant because of this. So technology for me is really important in the how. But there are things that technology cannot solve today and won't solve ever as human, which is what do I do and why I do things. And this is something that technology can solve. So what we work with clients is, first of all, yes, we have a technology that can do things, but why do you want to do this thing, and what are the problems or the solutions you want to bring to people? And you have to be very focused on that, because if not, technology can do other things that you didn't have in mind. And this is also something that we have learned, that we can define or design technology for one purpose, but if you don't guide and educate people in using that in the way that best serve them, and this has to do also with not manipulating your populations in the company with technology, which is something that doesn't serve at all. So if you don't, if there is no guidance behind your technology, many things can happen, and we have personally and professional experiences. So it's very important to learn how to use technology at all levels, but definitely in your company, there is you have a vision how technology can serve and work for your vision. This is basic from business perspective, but also from your people perspective, the human beings that are in your company, how this technology can serve and be useful for them is another reflection. And this comes through a strategic. And this is a very, this word can explain almost anything, but again, we need to put a purpose or to connect technology with the strategy and do, because there is something important to solve, or there is something important you need to solve in your company, not because it's something you have to do, or because your competency is doing so, or what other reasons, because what we've learned is technology has sometimes his own life. I mean, if you just leave it in your organization,
agenda, right?
Yes, can do many many things that wasn't planned or wasn't in your mind. So this is what we have learned in our case.
And if I can
Georgia,
add,
I'd love for you to jump in here.
I mean, I would like to add that for sure we have the ability to leverage new technology and new thinking, like artificial intelligence, digital identity, deliver great opportunity and greater inclusion. But it's true, I agree that we need to work on two different levels. So we need to use technology in order to improve and to create greater opportunities, but we have also to work on the personal and human side. So what Nir also was saying about leadership, I'm completely agree with you, because at the end, it's super important during the crisis to have strong, let's say, strong leaders within a company, leaders with the ability to manage and to navigate through the crisis and to be able to lead by example, to empower their people, to celebrate their success, but also celebrate their failures and stay, as I said before, with one hand behind their back. And so I think that the leadership competencies needs to be also super important. So we, as company, we need to help our leaders to be more and more effective in their leadership style. because they still needs to be focused and to help people to face and to navigate this crisis on, in any case, any future, let's say, crisis or difficult events that we could face.
Well, it's such a, there's a question in the chat from Andrew Wong, who it's a question that I think is relevant in this moment. He refers to employee presence operating as a crude form of control and accountability. And when we move away from a model where people are simply required to be in one place for a certain amount of time, how do we adapt and impart the onus of accountability and responsibility on them? Leadership is an enormous part of this, but as well, I think this follows on from the conversation about technology empowering and facilitating as opposed to ordering, right? Anybody want to jump in on that? I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's linked on what we are discussing till right now, because I think that we should change the way how we measure people. We shouldn't think anymore how many hours someone is working or from where it's working, rather than, okay, we need to take care if they are able to work, to do their job in the right way, whatever they are. And so I think that it's important to go along this flexible, let's say, working in order to give more and more accountability to our people. And this shift towards outcomes over hours or output over input, for sure, we will better for the employee, and especially in this case, I think also for women, because many women have been grateful for the chance to work remotely in this during this period, because I mean it was super helpful for them. So I think that we need to make a shift, or organization need to make a shift in order to the way on how they think to measure their people or the performance of their employee.
If I may add on that, what I learned in the tower in Madrid for last year was that we were obliged, because corporate organizations and culture are so accustomed to business as usual, and there is a communication style and there is a leadership style. There are things that are very fixed, and we go like that with the culture, business as usual in everything. But last year we were confronted with the need to have conversation on topics that we hadn't had before. So this was amazing, because we had to adapt ourselves in the new context. Now, what's the best timetable for you? What's the best way to communicate for you? What is a good time for you? And this kind of conversation was really amazing for us, for our team, because we had conversation we haven't had before. And we were and we had to lead and to guide and to negotiate things that we hadn't had before. So even if this is my preferred slide or not, I had to communicate and to have conversation that I didn't have before. And this is, for me, was one of the biggest benefits in this change of context. And the teams that did it and that learned how to do it had an amazing experience. The teams around me that didn't do this struggled a lot in the past months. And accountability, which was the question that you put, accountability increased through this kind of shift in conversations, in communication, in more leadership of proximity was needed, at least at the beginning. So if you continued in that, accountability comes alone. You don't have to do anything else, because confidence and trust increased, because you started to see the people at the other side, as I mentioned at the beginning, because you were talking about things that normally you don't talk. So this is one. I don't know if it's the only, probably not. There is a mix of many things when human side comes with a multi variables. But this kind of conversation for me was a shift, definitely, in accountability. There is no need to see people in the table working, because you are making a follow-up based in other things.
Would anyone like to jump in?
I just wanted to add, sorry, that I do miss the human interaction for sure. So, when we do go back to normal, I believe that it will be sort of a blend. I know that in the office that we're going to be returning to, they've actually combined some companies and we're not going to have enough desks for everyone. So there is this expectation that there will be like a flex schedule, but there, especially for me being an American working in a Spanish company and, like with Spanish productions, like I learned so much being around my colleagues and them, giving me insight about the industry. And, you get information that you wouldn't necessarily always get when you're working from home, and also just that personal relationship. So I hope that we can find a balance between giving ourselves the flexibility that makes us all probably, a little bit more happy, a little bit more productive, but also having the opportunity to, be around colleagues and get those benefits. And I also work in a very pan-European organization. We don't have a headquarters, but we're all kind of across different offices in Europe. And we're very accustomed to working on video calls and having a couple people at the table and a couple people are dialing in. And we've always been quite comfortable with that. But we have conferences maybe 3 times a year, one on the team level, one on the whole organization, and maybe one on, 4 different departments coming together. And I hope that we are still empowered to have those in-person meetings where, I'm sure travel for business will never go back to the frequency that it was before. But I hope that, we're still empowered and encouraged to be with the team at least a few times a year.
Yeah. You wanted to contribute?
Yeah, I wanted to answer to Andrew and link it to what Mar said. I mean, for me, there won't be accountability until there won't be vulnerability. In order to be accountable, you also need to be able to make mistakes and say, I was wrong. But, in the business world, we have a language of war. We conquer the market, we dominate, we're superior, so everything is very aggressive. And the moment you show weakness or you are too vulnerable, it's kind of a weakness. And there is a beautiful and great example that maybe why I think even artists can be great, why artists are great entrepreneurs, not even. During the pandemic, Airbnb needed to fire 3,000 people. Brian Chesky wrote a letter to the whole employees, super open, spoke about the pain and the prices that they need to pay, and put all the HR team of Airbnb on the front page of Airbnb to help the one that need to be fired to find a job. So he put the resources of the company to help the one that he needs to fire. And I ask myself a question: does the fact that Brian Chesky allowed himself to be vulnerable is because he's also an art graduate and he brought a different mindset into the business? So for me, vulnerability will go hands in hand with accountability to say, you know what, I'm wrong, I'm taking responsibility, and I will take it from here. So.
I don't want to interrupt you. That was really compelling, so I don't want to interrupt anyone else if they're going to jump in. But I wonder, for everyone, building off of that, and actually building off of everything we've been discussing right now, all of this was in response to a really exceptional set of circumstances. Everything that we're discussing right now, and all of you have looked into the future and said, well, I hope that we can find some kind of a balance. This immediate human connection, which has replaced the mediate, which is, or let's say, been necessitated by the mediated relationship of not being able to be physically present. This is going to have to continue into the future. And I wonder if we could talk a little bit about how that might come about. How do we move forward from here? Is it a question of education? Is it a question of policy? Is it a question of whatever means of trying to adapt organizational culture and things like that? How do we move forward and make sure that we're not losing the good that we've gained and returning to some of the bad that we have?
I think that it's clear that Word was unprepared to a situation like this, for sure. But I think that if an organization wants to be successful, needs to be smart, needs to be agile, and needs to have memories. So to keep memories of what happened, on how it reacts to the crisis, to any crisis, and to use, its own resources. That could be policies, that could be people, that could be, let's say, ideas, diversity, values, and put dates on the table and say, okay, this is the starting point. So I don't want to delay it and to avoid or to do not remember nothing of my histories. And so we need to start from there in order to build the future. So I don't think that we will, let's say, when everything will be done, we will be back to the normality.
Backslide.
Exactly. Yeah. But we will be different. Yeah. We will be, we have learned that we are able to be agile. We are learned that we are smart enough to learn from the experience and to use this experience in order to be better and to become more successful. And also stronger, because I think that, we always say that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so I think that, we will be stronger from this experience and more self-confident that we can face everything if we are all together and if we look in the same direction.
Jump in. You make me think of the classical.
Yeah, I always listen. I can talk until all of you go to sleep, and I continue to talk. So I will add one sentence, and then I will add. So you mentioned keep memories, and I also want to add imagination. I think that sometimes it's not the lack of technology, it's not the lack of the solution, it's lack of imagination, what's possible in this world. And over here, I had the chance to interview Jim McKelvey, that is the co-founder of Square, and he's an artist that invented the new online mobile payment in the US just because he couldn't sell his artwork. And one of the things that he said, that economic crisis is the best time to start new things, because all the old paradigms doesn't fit anymore. So you have to you're actually open-minded to listen to new ideas. So that's the best time to, at least that's a message for me, for everyone. This is now a moment of possibilities. It's not a moment of obstacles, because people are willing to listen and actually give you opportunities. So.
And it's in the difficulties that we discover to be stronger than what we thought. And we discover to have tools and in our personal toolkits that we never think to have, energy that we never thought to have.
Well, how do people take advantage of that? How would you encourage people to take advantage of that? Is that through, again, education, redevelopment? What do you think?
I think first of all is trying to not get back to normality or to what we had before. I think this is probably, if that is the conclusion of what we have been living, I think I would be very sad, because the huge opportunity of the past 12 months is that we were compelled to do things better and to have a better life and a better world. So if we go back to normality, for me, would be a sad conclusion. So with imagination, but also with the with the deep connection of what is worthwhile in life. What do I need? What did I miss? What was important for me? What is useful? What is what do I really want in life? Because this was, I've never lived a moment like this where my life was compromised at all levels. So this is really deep. If this takes me to go back to before, no. And any resource is a good resource for that. If it's education for you, just go for education. If it is arts, please go for arts. If it's traveling, go for traveling. But the opportunity that we have day after day to be alive in the world with our hands, our feet, our mind, our heart, fully available to do whatever we want to make this world a better place. Come on, for 12 months, this has been compromised. Let's do something big with this. Whatever resource that works for you, use it, please. And this is my call for the world. Is technology, go for technology, whatever works for you. But dream big, imagine, be happy. You are alive. This is more than what people have or had.
Yeah.
So let's do something big with this.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a better call to action than that. Thank you, Mar. I amen to that, as Liana said. In terms of questions, please, I'd like to invite everyone. You're welcome to write them into the chat. I'm happy to read them here. Otherwise, I believe you can unmute and say them, I think. I'm correct about the technology. Otherwise, please feel free to put them into the chat. There have been a number of questions which I think we've addressed as we've been going along around cross-border teams, international collaboration, and accountability, and sense of belonging. So if there are any others, please, everyone feel free to jump in with that. Was that someone unmuting? No, I think that was Nir actually blowing.
Daria?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? My name is Daria. I work in Mastercard. I'm account manager working in Madrid. Originally, I'm Ukrainian. So now I work in Spanish office almost 2 years. So I have a question to Nir. I was listening to you really like with big attention, because I want to emphasize in your phrase about to do everything with heart. Yes. So my question is, what do you think about the most powerful things of light in the world? The power of thankfulness, the power of forgiveness is the most powerful, the power of love. Your opinion, how we can use it for job?
Well, I don't even know. I mean,
no pressure, just the three most important things in the world here. Come on.
That's a Women's Day.
No, it's like, it's like forgiveness,
gratitude, forgiveness, and love.
Thankful, be thankful, gratitude, yeah. And the biggest power is the power of love. As you told us that we need to do our job with heart.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, it's about, at least for me, it's about thankful. Most of my life I've been, all my life I've been entrepreneur. I never had a real job. So you need to be able, in order to sustain this long-term marathon, you need to be thankful for even someone answered your email. I'm not even speaking about it. Now I'm talking professionally. I'm not talking about my personal, because it's focused. I focus it over here on the professional. So for me, I learned that if you cannot succeed in the world alone, we always hear people, I. No, you aren't. There were people on the way that, gave you the water. One person gave you the apple. This is how you progress. When people give you, so you need to be appreciative of it. and say, you know what, I'm actually lucky. So that's my approach.
Okay. So sharing is caring, yeah?
And giving is also a
Okay.
caring. And
Good, thank you.
acknowledging it is the most important thing.
Cool.
I don't
you
know
very
that we
much.
can actually end on a better note than one of love. In the interest of time, I'm afraid I'm going to have to bring our conversation to a close, but I would like to thank, with all my heart, our panelists, Georgia, Nir, Mar, and Ilana. Thank you all so much for being here and for sharing your perspectives and experiences. And thank you all for joining us for this time. I believe there is now some networking that's arranged, and which will happen in breakout rooms, and a cocktail which you are to make for yourself. I think a glass of wine is probably also allowable. So thank you all so very much. Thank you for this conversation. I know I've gotten a lot out of it and I really appreciated it. And I will now, I think, hand over to the organizer. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. If we say about being thankful, thank you, Andrew, for taking the time and guiding us.
Thank you all.
Thank
you so much.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
thank you all for your contributions. It was awesome. I would like also to thank our sponsors, Andrew, our speakers, for making this possible. We for sure would not be here without any of you. And I would also like to thank the board members of the Women in Business Club, the grads and the undergrads, for making this amazing event. You worked so hard, girls. We worked so hard. So it's amazing. I'm so happy for what we did. And I would like to invite you all to join in a very quick cocktail hour. It's gonna be 30 minutes and we will be organizing a Kahoot with some prizes. And then a Q&A with the speakers where we'll be able to talk a little bit more with them. So it's gonna be in this link. So just stay here and I'll see you in the breakout rooms. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much, Carmen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, so how this is going to work, I'm going to create 2 different breakout rooms. Let's hope the technology doesn't challenge me, but yeah. Perfect.
Technology always challenges, whether we wanted to or not.
I don't know.
I can do it, Cam, if you want.
I was about to say no pressure because we are forgiving, we are thankful, and we love you.
Let's just go and check in every breakout
Okay,
room.
yes, okay, Georgia. Okay, Cristina is with Elisa. Tanya. Wait, and Yolanda, and then there's Andrew. Okay.
Andrew, Elisa. We need to move them. Okay, Nears. Okay, it's fine. I think we're good.
Is it fine? Wait, but there's
There are 4 people left to join them.
yeah, Diana. I want.
Yeah, they've not joined.
Yeah. Wait, I will try to.
Diana, Lynn, Monica, Juan.
Juana. Yeah. Oh, how do I? Okay. I'm gonna just assign randomly. Okay. Hi, Andrea. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Poner